Welcome to the Jira Life, the place to find news, events, and interviews with the Atlassian community's movers and shakers. Join our hosts, Alex, Dr. Jira Ortiz, and Rodney, the Jira guy Nissen, as well as the Jira amigos in the Peanut Gallery, as we sit down and discuss the latest going on in the Atlassian ecosystem. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life, the Jira Life chose us.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Susie, you got to bring more energy.
I know, they're used to me, Mom. So they need you to ramp it up and, she can be like that for sure.
Oh, I can do
it.
Hello.
I mean, I'm assuming Sarah got it from somewhere, and we'll probably get into those stories eventually.
I know. I think this is going to be more of a discovery of who Sarah is and why Sarah is.
That's why I said it's my origin story. So what my mom may not or may not know. That's how I titled today's show, was so that everybody knows my origin story. Because a lot of times on this program, somebody comes in and we say, hey, what's your origin story in terms of like, how did you get to know the Atlassian products? Or, how did you get involved in the Atlassian community? So much like hero stories, right? There's always an origin like Superman. So you're my origin story, Mom. And we're going to talk about, how things were when you were in the professional office environments, how things are today for us in the professional or maybe not so professional office environments. What's changed? What hasn't? Some of your experiences. It's just conversation.
Great.
All right.
So
She's in.
Why don't you kick us off? What year did you enter the workforce here?
Well, okay. I started work when I was 13 years old. And that was at a local dairy. And I put myself through high school, which I was very proud of because it was a private girls' school, and that's what my parents told me I got to do. So then I advanced to working in different companies, but I didn't really get introduced to the computer technology until the 1970s when I worked for a company called American Car Foundry. And I met a really nice gentleman named Jim Seaman, who introduced me to computers. And I remember vividly the first time I touched something on my keyboard and it all went away. I was terrified. I thought, oh my God, what have I done? So Jim came over very nicely and updated me on how I could retrieve the information. So that was my first thing. Then I was also sent to a school for a week where we actually put the programs into I'm not going to use technical terms, into a box where you loaded the software. Okay. And so I got to design and incorporate things. And luckily I had other women in the company that would help me. So to me, it was fascinating to see things that I could actually design and utilize. So that was the first experience. Then I went over to a place called Unidynamics, which was in the government industry, and basically went back to the typewriter. But what I'm most proud about that job is the fact that I would write up not codes, but lettering for the guys to put on their draft work. So I had this great idea to figure out the dimensions, put them on one strip of paper so that instead of them having to individually put them down, they put them down as a strip. So kudos to me.
She was an efficiency expert.
I know, I was going to say, that sounds like project management to me, which is very appropriate for what Atlassian lets us do.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. But unfortunately, I was looking for a job that had more security, because I knew I wanted a pension. So I applied at Southwestern Bell Yellow Pages, and I worked there for 21 years. And that was where I really was introduced to the computer industry. But every time we would have what?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. We just need to clarify, because this is a point of contention. Alex, you do remember what Yellow Pages are, right?
Oh, you're breaking. My heart.
I'm the youngest.
He does this
person
to
in the
all of us
room.
all the time, so
I'm
we
the
have to
youngest
ask these
person in the room,
questions.
Cecilia. So they're always
Well,
picking. They're always
well,
picking on me because I was born in '89, and half of the things that Sarah watches or listens to or has experienced in her life, I'm not privy to it because it's a different age. And
Exactly.
so they're just making fun of me because yes, I still remember Yellow Pages
All right.
being
Thank
thrown
you.
around. In fact, I will tell you, fun little fact. Guess how I would start my fireplace in St. Louis if not with the Yellow Pages?
Oh no, Alex! Please tell me you did not just say that.
You know
I
what? I'm not
needed
sure she heard you, so I'm not going to repeat it.
I needed something to kindle the fire there.
Anyway,
Anyway, just never mind.
I'm sorry if I'm seem like I'm discounting you, but I'm not. So as the work progressed, every time we had a system upgrade, I would go to school on site for a full week. And it was very, very beneficial because I'm not a fast learner, but as I say, I can always learn.
Yep.
So at the end, I finally got to design the final pages before they went to production, so that I got to position the ads according to the dimension of the ad. Like a full page ad would naturally come first, then you'd go into the lower ones, and then we got to check a physical page that they would print out that it would look like before it went to the printer, and you got to review all that. So you got to know your mistakes. But these systems, when they were updated, were the coolest thing because I learned so much.
Hmm.
So that's it.
I want to go back for a second though. Did you guys? I'm sure you all caught when there was a system update. They had a week of training in the what? So now we're talking about like the 90s, probably 80s, 90s.
90s.
In the 90s,
Yeah.
an update, and you got sent to a week of training. Yeah. So Bob's like, training? Exactly. And so the thing that she isn't so aware of right now is the software that we talk about, Jira, right?
Mhm.
And so that thing gets little minor updates probably at
10
least
times a
every day, if
10
not a
times a
couple
day,
times a
every
day.
day.
Yeah.
Well, let me put it this way. I'm glad I'm retired because the brain
It
power
is-
is not what it used to be.
I mean, there's some questions about our brain power too, some legitimate. But thing is also with all these little updates, we're always having to do the training ourselves. So yeah, we got to learn the stuff ourselves, and then we got to train everyone else in the company, trying to figure out, okay, here's what's changed, here's how you do it now, here are the changes to expect. And sometimes it's just an email, but sometimes you really do have to drag some people into classes.
But it makes
Mhm.
me wonder though, like, were they doing it right? Because I feel like we're running so fast today. So fast today. Like, what would happen if we slowed down?
Right?
Ooh, excellent. Because you have so many different ages of people you're dealing with. Not everybody is computer literate.
Or as. I mean, today most people are, I'm gonna say, Mom. Most people
Oh.
are now.
I've been retired
But-
almost 20 years, so I'm past
I don't know.
that.
My mom would beg to differ. She only knows how to use Facebook, and that's fine. As long as she can get to these live streams and into Facebook, her life is a-okay.
Are you saying we need to stream somewhere else, Alex?
Yeah, we might want to start playing in Facebook. But I did want to go back and ask two questions, Cecilia. Number one, putting a book together is a huge endeavor, right? How did you all coordinate? How did you know who was behind schedule, who was ahead of schedule? How did you all figure out how to put all the resources together to make the book happen?
Well, first of all, everything was online and it was also visual. So you could see where your positioning of your ads were. And so it was one group of, I think, 6 or 8 of us that was dedicated to finalizing the book. And you would have schedules for the publications of the books because the Southwestern Bell Yellow Pages that I work for covered 4 states. So you had many books going at different times, many sizes of books. You would go from St. Louis, Kansas City, then you'd go down to little bitty towns like Rolla, Missouri, so on and so forth. So depending upon the dimensions of the book, and it was all programmed into it, so you knew what you were looking for. So it was really a well-developed program in my estimation, because I didn't have to study in depth. I knew, because I was trained, what went where.
So was there software that you had that sort of helped you see that schedule or know when to work on something?
Actually, we developed a big board so that everybody in the office knew what was due when and who to contact for what book, so we're not all running around.
Running
This
around with
is
your head cut off.
sounding
Right?
vaguely familiar, Alex.
Yeah, it's
I
starting to sound physical versions of what we take for granted every single day.
Exactly. So what we're commenting on right now, Mom, is part of Atlassian, and the idea of Atlassian is there's literally big boards that you can look at that have these cards, and that's how they refer to them. So each one of your tasks is represented as a card on there. And then you can take it from to do and progress to done, so other people can see all what's done.
Right, because communication was so important, because you had printing deadlines. In
Oh, we
fact,
still have deadlines.
Yes.
That hasn't changed.
and anyway, the company was very, very supportive with their people. They didn't expect too much, but you knew you had these deadlines to meet, and therefore you met them. But since there was this big board telling you what stage each book was at, the communication was great.
And so you physically have to go in and get these things updated, right?
Yes, we had to physically write on the board and put what was where.
And
Did
What
I
happens-
answer that?
Yeah, no, that was perfect. But what happens then when a mistake was made, whether at the printer, whether at the board level, whether just typos? How did you all deal
Well,
with defects?
you would actually find out if mistakes were made in the final page that was printed out, which was an actual and large page of the yellow book. So as you're reviewing, you were looking for these mistakes, but the system caught a tremendous amount of mistakes.
oh, nice.
So it was to me, it was really an exciting job, because I got to say, if you think about it, I was a composer.
Good to use that title. Now, who had the fewest mistakes typically?
That's a really tough question, because mistakes were frowned upon.
The answer is you. You had generally the fewest mistakes.
Oh, well, we were only allowed 7 published errors a year. And considering the thousands of things we looked at, that was remarkable. But you had the right to contest your mistake. Because I worked in the complaint department one time too. That was interesting, because people did not want to know about their mistakes.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know. The question that just escaped me.
Oh,
This whole
welcome to
conversation
the
about my
senior
mom
club.
is throwing me off. Stop it. I wanted to ask. Okay, it just came back to me. So in your 20-year career there, right? As you saw, I'm assuming then if it was the 90s, then you started to get more digital towards the latter part of your career, right?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Did you see any cultural changes? Did you see, as younger generations were coming in, was there any friction?
Well, you always have personalities in business. And there were some people that were adaptable and some that were not, but they were forced to be if they wanted their salary. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but it's just that I think all businesses have a certain element of people that really don't want to adjust. But if they want the paycheck, they'll adjust.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I'm getting 2 things coming out of this conversation. One, on training, right? It sounds like back then companies invested a lot more into getting their employees to be able to know how to do their responsibilities. Because today I feel like you get a title and you're like, what am I supposed to do with this? What do you want? I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing
Yeah.
in my job. You
Or
just show up and pray that things go well for you.
Yeah. And even with, again, introducing new systems, right? Like, hey, there's a new system coming and there are steps people take. There's communications that go out that say, hey, a new system is coming. But typically our trainings tend to feel like, you got about an hour. You got about an hour of instructor-led, hands-on. This is how you use this new system that we're going to do for X. Now, that system might not be literally everything we do about our job. Sometimes it can be 50% of our job. Sometimes it can be 10%. But there are times where it's a lot of our job. And then we're handed over into a new system, and I think a lot of people, who are watching this, right, we're helping institute that at companies, and then they go, okay, you've got this much time for training, and you're like, great, you'll do the best you can.
Yeah, there's been situations where you're implementing a new system, and you have to also be the trainer because people are going to need training, and companies not willing to invest in it. And well, that's just another hat you have to wear as the implementer there.
Yeah, I'm curious. Do you think you wore that hat, Mom? Were you the person who knew how the systems worked and helped others?
That was what I loved about it, because I was fortunate enough, and they let me introduce it, where we had a backup system. Say somebody was out sick or they were going on vacation, you had a buddy, and that buddy would then take over all responsibilities to make sure the publication got to the printer. So I was proud of that.
Yeah. The thing she's talking about there, right? Like, was cross-training wasn't a thing.
Yeah, no, we don't even have that, because right now today you have like 10 people's jobs.
Yeah. That's true too.
Wow. Stress.
It's really bad. People get laid off all the time, and the work doesn't disappear. It just gets clumped to the poor survivors that are left.
Right.
Because that's how you ended up no longer at ACF, right? American Car Foundry, is because you got laid off. And do you ever wonder what happened, like, to all the work you did?
Well, I never really thought about it, because being laid off is very detrimental to your ego. You know it might happen, but you don't want it to happen. And when it does, it was quite upsetting, because at the time I was pretty much the sole breadwinner in the family. But let me tell you an interesting story. So I decided while we were laid off that we were going to go to Six Flags, because I wanted the kids to have a fun day entertainment. So we did, and I come home and there was a telegram. And I said, who sends me a telegram?
Wait, what's a telegram? Because we have a telegram today, but I don't think it's the same type of telegram.
Oh, Alex, you're hurting me.
Well, I mean, we have an app called Telegram. I'm assuming it's not that.
No, wait. Are you being serious right now? You're not being serious right now.
Like, I thought telegrams were something like you sent like to a boat, not to a house.
Well, yes, paper email that is not going through the mail, right? That somebody prints out and then personally hand delivers, not like mail. That's hilarious.
Like a letter?
Yeah.
Like a letter, but shorter and more important.
Yeah.
We
like
need
a
to talk
tweet,
about
like a
Morse
tweet.
code here. I mean, come on, Alex. This is basic encoding. This is computer science
I've heard of a
101.
telegram, but I always thought that was like between like big offices and government buildings and stuff, not like personal.
Yeah, people could.
You could send a personal telegram. I mean, it was like at the time. Again, think inflation. This is expensive money for the time it was, but it's like 50 cents a word.
Yeah. And it's because part of it was, this is how people found out during the war, right? When they lost somebody and a family member in the war, they sent a telegram. So so maybe by the time you would be thinking about them, that was like, oh yes, when you had to get something somewhere that was maybe a little more challenging, but at the time, so you got a telegram, which would have been a very big deal.
Yeah, it's not something you get casually, Alex. Let's just leave it at that. It's like getting a certified letter. Something seriously going on.
Proceed.
Yes.
Sorry.
This is so cool.
Imagine somebody probably had to ring a doorbell to let her know that they had a telegram for her, and she would have gotten up and answered the door.
So anyway, I get this telegram and it tells me that they have reviewed my application at Unidynamics and they wanted to see me. And so I did get the job. But what a trip.
Wow.
To get a telegram for a job, that made me feel
Mhm.
special.
So they didn't ghost her like today.
I'm having so much fun educating you, Alex, because I'm an octogenarian, you know that.
Yes, they do.
And so to talk to someone who has not had these experiences, I love sharing stories.
I'm gonna
certain
take
I'm
my
more
two
my-
kids over to St. Louis to visit you all, and
Yes,
we'll have some
yes.
fun.
We can't wait.
Did Sarah tell you I still have a house out in St. Peter's?
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm out
So
in
you
St.
went
Charles
to this-
County, so
Yeah,
I'll
it's
make it out.
growing.
I'm gonna make it out one day because I gotta replace my deck, and so when I go get that deck replaced,
Oh.
I'm gonna swing by Sarah's house.
Exactly.
Well, I've never lived anyplace else but St. Louis, and I'm sorry we have such a bad image, but we're working on it.
Yes. We for sure are.
What else about my jobs?
Well,
I have
I
one.
mean,
I know, yeah. Like it's not just me. We got other people on the show.
Okay, so again, because I keep trying to tie this back. One of the things that, as I was thinking about this, right, is just the more things change, the more things stay the same, right?
Different
Like
format.
so many things that we deal with right now in terms of like literally change management and how those things happen. A lot of we have similar challenges with that nobody seems to have solved perfectly. And with that in mind, one of the challenges that if you've been following, Atlassian folks on LinkedIn or people who are looking for those admin jobs right now is the idea of some of those admin jobs being undervalued, right? Some of the salaries being associated with it for the type of work a lot of admins are doing, they just don't seem to be equivocal. And so my mom has a story about when something like that was happening with you at the Yellow Pages when you had the union come in.
Oh, that was exciting because I felt that we were underpaid for all the work we did. So instead of being upset about it, I thought I'd take action. So I contacted the union, Communication Workers of America, and somebody came and sat down at my desk about 2 hours. And because of that, we got a recognition for our pay upgrade, which also included pension. So instead of fussing, I chose to take action. And for that, I'm very proud.
Yeah. So like on behalf of her entire team, she got them all a raise.
Look at that. Amazing. You try to do that today, you get all axed. How dare you? How dare you ask for more money? We'll just eliminate the entire team. I'll show you.
but
I
it's
joke,
always
but
for
it's great.
something other than unionizing. Let's be clear about that.
Yes.
What about unionizing?
Sorry. Rodney, she wants you to repeat.
I said, the entire team will be axed or fired, but it will always be for something other than unionizing.
Yes.
And of course, they didn't fire you for that. You just happened to be doing that at the time.
Right. Well, she was already in the union, so the union was working on their behalf for that. But it just reminds me of the stories that I'm hearing right now, right? Like when people are accepting lower pay, right? Which sometimes it's scary things, and you have to go do that. But at the same time, then what does that do for the rest of the salaries? And for what that position really should command or could command based on what you're doing with it. So.
Before we go on, I'm sorry.
How many children did you have?
3.
3. So I wanted to ask you, right, because this is a problem that we still have today, and I'd like to see how it was in your time, right? But as a breadwinner that you mentioned, but having a child, right, that usually puts you out of commission for a little bit, right? When you go have a baby. Were you ever afraid of like how that would impact your career, or was that even things that people worried about back then? Because I know today so many females focus so heavily on their career and put families to the side, right? Because the job is so demanding because of the quick pace that everything changes, right? So if you take a week off to have a baby, your company just evolved. It's like a whole new company.
Or as a single parent, right? What happens when you need to take time off? So how was it for that?
Well, first of all, I had all 3 children while I was not working. And then unfortunately, when Sarah was 11 months old,
14
months old, her father died as a result of an accident at work. So therefore, because of Social Security and workman's compensation, I chose to stay home for 3 years so that my children would not have to adjust to their mother being away from home. So that was the plus side. So I didn't really have to make these decisions that women are today. But in my experience, I worked strictly for the paycheck, not for a career. All I wanted to do was to be able to support my family. So I didn't have the issues that they do today. Plus, there were really wonderful people in my neighborhood and in the community that had childcare services. So I was very fortunate. Let me tell you another story. I love stories. Anyway.
You got an hour to tell us as many stories as you want.
Yeah.
Oh, an hour. Oh, okay. Anyway, so I chose to send my kids to Catholic schools, grade school. But I was going to send them to public school for kindergarten. Well, as it worked out, I was only going to send them there 1 year. So in order to have Sarah go to a kindergarten that was close to where I wanted to pick her up, it was out of the parameters, shall we say, for the school. And so they weren't going to allow that. Well, I walked up there and we had a talk. And Sarah got to go to the school. So I guess I'm assertive.
I'm hearing the song in my mind right now, right? Taking care of business. Mom went up there and was taking care of business. But, to Alex's question, did you work with women who could have, who were pregnant, did you ever, I guess I'm kind of asking, right? Like, you're a woman working in the 70s and the 80s. How did that, did you have observations that you could share about, was there that kind of discrimination towards women in there? Did you see any discrepancies between, what men were allowed and women were allowed?
Well, first of all, let's address the pregnancy issue, because we had one supervisor who worked up until the day she delivered. So there was no discrimination with pregnancy. But I'm going to tell you another story. When my sister went to work for a shoe company back in the late 50s, when women were pregnant, when they started to show, they were forced to quit. They had no choice. Thankfully, that does not happen today. Next question.
But were you eligible for benefits at ACF? Did you get health care and have those options?
Yes, that was an automatic part of the job package. But back when I first started working, because I worked at a match company, I didn't even think about asking about benefits, because to a 20-year-old or 21-year-old girl, that wasn't really relevant. So I don't remember truthfully if they had them or not. But the thing I remember the most about Universal Match was I smoked for 10 years. Get this, I could smoke at my desk, but I had to ask to go to the restroom.
Again, it's like so hard to imagine.
Why do you think that was?
Well, the boss was the boss. You didn't question a boss. You did what they said.
I mean, I've heard in some other more conservative countries, it's still the case where you have to ask or use your break to use the restroom.
Right.
So
my kids
with that.
My kids were there, and I homeschool my kids, so they use the restroom on demand.
Right.
There's no hall pass in our house.
I like thinking there would be. Now, you did the card punch kind of programming thing, right?
No.
You didn't?
No, I didn't.
I think I've been lying to people for a really long time. I swear to God, I remember you telling a story about that.
Well, it was occurring in the office when I worked for AAA Insurance, where you had the card punch, but I did not go into that field.
Oh, I know you didn't go into the field, but I thought
No.
you had some
No,
experience
it was
with
mostly all with the keyboard. First of all, manually on the keyboard, and then connected to a computer.
that, right?
But technology today, go ahead,
Oh, I think he was just laughing. Technology today.
Yeah.
is good and bad. And I'm going to give you an editorial. You might not want it, but you're going to get it.
We're here for it.
Right?
Okay.
We call these hot
Technology.
takes today. We're here for the hot
Technology-
takes.
What does he say?
Okay, he's saying that now we call them hot takes. When you're going to give your opinion about something, somebody says, I'm going to give you my hot take on this.
I'm not up on all the lingo.
Well, we want it. Give it to us. We want it.
Yes,
What was the subject again?
beats me.
This is called a senior moment. Okay, technology. I got it.
Good
They
and
came
bad.
back.
So anyway, technology is good for the information, but I think it's sort of disconnecting socially, especially with the younger generation. When I go out, and I know Sarah doesn't, well, anyway, when we go out to eat,
We want to hear
most-
the juicy secrets of Sarah's
Right?
life.
Like,
Don't hold back on Sarah's personal life.
but when we go out and some families are all on their telephone, to me, it's a sad endorsement of where society is going. But Sarah is a great mother because her children do not whip out their smartphones. So I give her many kudos for that. And may I also interject, I am so thrilled that she has chosen me to share ideas with you. It's a heartfelt moment.
She speaks very highly of you.
I do.
Well, considering we grew up together, this is an utmost compliment, because I had no idea that Sarah was so intellectually gifted. It did not occur to me
That's a surprise to everybody.
until she got into the workforce, and I'm like, this girl is a go-getter. That's my comment.
How old
And
was Sarah when you had your first
Why?
first sight of like Sarah was gonna go places?
How old was it?
How
He
old was
wants-
Sarah?
He wants to know how old I was when you thought I'm going to rephrase it. When you thought I was going to be okay. Or he said go-getter, but I don't consider myself a go-getter. So
Okay. When Sarah was born, they had
first. No, actually, she tells this all the time. It's hilarious. When I
Okay.
was born,
at the hospital, they had what's called an ABGAR, ABGAR test, which tested many things, but the scale was 1 to 10. She was a 9.
I got 9. At birth, I'm scoring 90%. Nowhere to
that,
go
Sarah.
from there.
But think about it. To know up front at the time of birth that your daughter had all this intelligence.
I don't know if they knew I was intelligent or
Yeah, but
not
you were a
then.
9 out of 10.
Hey, you
That's
were
all
on
that
my Jira
matters.
duties for 14 sessions. You're very intelligent.
So I've got a provocative one for her,
Oh, good.
if I might, to tie this back to Atlassian and to one of the things that I know I have learned from her stories and so forth, right? And the way she used to talk about things at work. I won't use the full terms, but one of Atlassian's, what is it? Their motto, their slogan, their mission,
You know,
their
it's
Core
so-
values.
Can you,
Core
Rodney, would it be possible for you to bring up the core values? Because I kind of
mean-
I wanted to get, that was a question I was going to have, is like, I want you to look at Atlassian's core values, and I just want to get your 2 cents on,
Yeah.
what do you think of these?
Yeah. So again, Atlassian, the company and that makes the product Jira that we talk about, they have a set of core values, which you would have probably experienced like at the Yellow Pages or whatever. So Rodney is going to bring up their core values and show you their core values. And we're going to have a little reaction video from
Great.
you on when Cecilia reads their core values. What does she think of them?
Oh, Lord. Oh God, eye impaired. EYE. I'm
So
sorry.
what do you think of that first one?
Okay, hang on. I'm going to bring it up also full screen for her. Can you see it okay, Bob? So, open
Yes.
company, none of that.
Oh, whoa, no BS. Whoa, that says it.
Oh, they get spicy.
Here, I'm going to make this bigger for you, Mom. Hang on.
Well, I can read without my glasses.
There you go.
Thank you. So what would you like me to do
Okay, what
specifically?
do you think about the
What do you
first
think?
one? We'll start here with
Well,
open company, no BS.
I like that because it sounds like everybody has an opinion and it's listened to. That's what I like. Build.
Next one.
Okay. The balance is the most striking to me because I think sometimes people are not listened to like they should be. And the more input you get from your employees, the better off the company will be.
Sounds like my mom would have been agile, huh? Talk to the people
Yep.
here, none up there. All right, now, Mom, that word starts with an F. Over here on this third
So-
column.
Oh, least favorite word.
Is that Sarah's favorite word, by the way? It's a running
Oh.
No, it really, truly.
question. Cecilia, what is Sarah's favorite bad word?
Probably fart knockers.
No,
I'm not even kidding you.
No. What is my worst bad word?
What,
No.
well,
What is Sarah's most favorite,
what's-
like most used bad word that she?
is she allowed to say it? Which I don't know which stream and all that we're allowed on.
I really don't. She has such a command of the English language. I don't think she uses that many bad words.
That's great. That's what we like to
See?
hear.
I
The trick
don't.
question is to find out. I'm told you a lot of this was just discoverability of who Sarah is.
And it's probably fart knockers. Also, admittedly, I often say mother of all the truckers.
Oh boy.
I do say mother of all the truckers very often.
I
No.
think I've actually heard you say that, Sarah.
But literally, that's what I say. I don't say, the
Yeah.
other thing. I say mother of all the truckers.
I say fudge
is what I
stickles.
say. You say fudgesicles, absolutely.
Fudgesicles.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay.
So Cecilia, that last
So
one though, that
this
third
one.
one there, that one's the most important one I think that Atlassian has. So I'm just
So right
curious,
here.
what are your 2 cents
Well-
about that one?
Well, definitely the customer has to be listened to and acknowledged. Because unfortunately, I was on the phone yesterday with AT&T trying to get something done. And I was on the phone for 30 minutes because of so much pre-information with a mechanical voice. I want a human. I don't want a voice. Okay. That was one thing. Don't mess with the customer. Well, first of all, like I said, the customer
Don't
was right.
mess.
But sometimes, they have to admit that they are a problem.
The customer does sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
think so? I'll tell you.
Because-
I'll
Oh.
tell you a story. It's my turn to say, right? So I was on the email with Atlassian this week, and when you ask for help from Atlassian, you have to kind of grade how critical your help is, right? Like how severe is your problem, right? Because that impacts their return time. And the gentleman over in the Atlassian side did not agree with my assessment of my severity of my problem.
Oh,
To which he proceeded to scold me for picking an inappropriate level. There's like 6 or
Oh.
7 levels, and I picked second from the highest, which I thought it was a pretty severe problem. So I gently reminded him of Atlassian's core values. And told him,
May I point your direction here?
yeah, let me point you to. So I just always think that I love the Atlassian core values because as a company, it grounds at Atlassian, right?
Mhm.
It forces them to behave in a certain way. And the best part is maybe Cecilia, might be different from your time, right? Because you said the boss is the boss and you do what the boss says. But today, it's not always like that, right? I think a lot of employees today now have way more influence over rules that do or don't exist. And this is again why I love these core values, because when something doesn't make sense, we can challenge it.
Yeah. But I know, going back to the third one, is I've heard you tell so many stories, right? When we're talking about, again, when she would talk about her time at the Yellow Pages and those ads and those mistakes, right? I heard you time and again say, you know, these people are paying for these ads, and that you always worked with an attitude of, I need to get this right for these people, right? It wasn't about you doing your job and just not making mistakes. I always heard you talk about it's for the customers that you needed to get that right, right?
Well, customers are paying my salary.
See, it's that connection. And there's a lot of folks out there who don't have that connection, right? To where that money ultimately comes from.
On a not so similar note, but kind of related, Cecilia, tell us a story of like you negotiating your salary. What did that process look like?
What was the last part?
Have you ever negotiated your salary, tried to get more money, ask for raises?
Well, that was the only time I chose to do it, because most of the time we would have an appraisal and then you would get an individual raise at the time. But being union was a totally different scenario. So did that answer it?
Mhm.
Do
So-
you ever feel like your male counterparts made more than you? Because that's still today, our female counterparts don't usually make as much as the male counterparts for the exact same job.
Mhm.
Well, I'm almost going to sound old school, but
That's the whole
money,
reason you're here, is to sound old school.
the money, I was just so grateful to have it. I never really thought about bargaining for it until I got older and realized I was going to retire out, so I wanted more money.
Okay, then what did you do when you said you wanted more money?
I went to the union and got the job upgraded.
Okay, that's when you got the upgrade, right?
But that applies to everybody though, right? Not just you.
Pardon?
that upgrade that you got was for the whole, it ended up benefiting the whole team, but
yeah,
you started it for you.
yeah, the whole team, because we were classified in different levels and different grades. So yeah, I was really proud of that because it paid to be a talker at that time.
Yeah.
So
So
different from today.
yeah.
Well, you have to remember, in my generation, you had a boss and you had workers, and the boss was it. You really didn't question anything. But as I progressed, I found there were certain jobs that I thought could be improved upon, and I took advantage of that. But I was listened to. That was the key factor. I wasn't discounted.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever want to do something that your boss didn't let you do?
Oh, that's such a deep question.
Welcome
I
to
feel
the
like
Jira Life.
that's true.
You know, I was pretty much,
It's not like you can get fired. You've been retired for 20 years.
well, I got laid off. That was an eye opener, but I always thought my ideas were worth something.
You were not laid off from Yellow Pages.
No, I was
You
never laid
retired.
off.
Yeah.
No, I retired from there.
No,
Thank
so,
God.
yeah. Was there anything, where the bosses were like, do this, and now looking back, you would have been like, why the hell did I do that?
Not really, because the communication was there. We were allowed to express our opinions. And so therefore, I guess I took advantage of it. So I never felt threatened by management, but you also got to remember I was union. So I always had that in the back of my head.
And
Right.
it's an interesting concept because as cognitive workers today, like most of us are not unionized.
Right.
No, I know, but I don't understand, since COVID happened, the lackadaisical work element of youth. They don't have the commitment to a job. Because one time I was talking to a McDonald's employee, and she said, oh, if I don't like it, I'll just quit and go down the street and get another job. To me, that was an eye opener, because I always had to look for my jobs. They were not presented to me. I found them. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. But when you say McDonald's, are you talking Douglas or Mickey D's?
I wish.
Mickey D's.
I'm just curious because
No,
I
I'm
mean,
talking
in St. Louis, McDonald was there, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was big in
Yeah.
St. Louis.
I just want
I'm
to make sure
talking
you're talking the right McDonald.
You see, this is so interesting talking to somebody that's not native, that the conceptions they have about the different names in our city. No, I'm talking about McDonald's, the restaurant.
Yeah.
But she
Um,
definitely, like, as many, I can't remember how many companies I've worked for, but it always just kind of she's always like, what do you mean you're changing jobs? Or what do you mean you're changing companies? Right? Because for
That's the
her,
best part. That's the best
it
part
was-
of our generation right now, right? Is if you aren't happy with something, you just go across the street and get $20,000-$30,000 more. And if you're not happy, then
Hopefully.
you go across another street
My
and get
view
another
on it-
30,000.
My view on it is it's a little bit of a two-way street. You mentioned being laid off. Layoffs happen a lot more often, and even to profitable companies now. So it's like, why should we give our loyalty to a company who will not hesitate to be disloyal to us if it gets the upper management a few more dollars on a bonus check?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So in my view, it's a little bit of a two-way street. When a company is willing to stick their neck out for me rather than just lay me off, I'm a lot more willing to be loyal to that company. And it's a much harder thing to say goodbye to that company than it would be for a company that I've seen round after round of layoffs from.
But there's another part that's missing, right? I'm assuming, Cecilia, you had a pension.
Correct.
Yeah. So I've grown up my entire working career without one of those. So
Mhm.
for me to have to exchange my next 40 years of my life for I'll take care of you the last 20, wasn't even an option for me.
Yeah. I was going to say there's so few pensions out there now. I think it's mostly government, right? Like,
And even there, mostly state, stuff like that.
Government,
I didn't want to just
firefighters is a big one I know
Yeah.
about.
Oh, big.
I think this one, the native comment was native to St. Louis, right? Because not a lot of people know
Yes.
that St. Louis McDonald was headquarters there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So native to the city of St. Louis. Unless you grew up in St. Louis, you wouldn't know the history of the Lou.
Right.
So am I answering your questions adequately?
No, you are. You are. It's just it's
told you.
interesting to see the perspective.
Yeah. It's all casual. And yes.
But you
Yeah.
know, this is my first podcast.
It is.
So I get to put that on Facebook now.
And you know what?
Oh,
You know what,
Yep.
guys? Now it's a generational thing. You technically coming on with you guys was the first time I had ever live streamed as well. So now you
We're
guys
doing
like
the
two
Jira Life.
generations.
Technically, Rodney and Bob, they also I pull them into the limelight.
See, exactly.
I mean, you say that, Alex. You say that. I just didn't appear with my face on anything until we started this.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have to point out another thing about my mom. She said it earlier. And I think it's an interesting perspective again of, I won't generalize and say generations, but just of people and the way people perceive things and look at things. Whenever I would ask my mom about jobs in the past, or she asks me about things that I do, she always uses the word, do they let you or do you get to? She
Mhm.
never says, do you have to, or like in any kind of negative way, right? Like, oh, you had to do that. Everything with her has been about getting to do something, getting to learn something new, or they let me take on this new responsibility. And it's right.
So
And
different.
so those words and that mindset when it comes to work, right? When you're presented with a new challenge, and if it's I have to versus I get to, and what a difference it makes. So that's something you gave me.
this is a learning experience for me also, because how often do you sit down with a child and discuss these things?
Well, it's a whole new podcast now, Mom. We're going to start this with everybody. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, we've got other nights of the week to fill.
I want to ask you a couple more because we are coming down to the last 10 minutes here.
Yeah.
Please.
Over your life, what is the most significant technological advancement that you said, wow, this is going to change the world? As you observed it as you were growing.
And I want to add what's going to change the world, what changed the world for the better and what changed the world for the worse when it came to technology.
Well, for the better communication with the cell phone, instant communications
So no more telegrams?
No more telegrams. Yes.
Oh, Alex. Oh, Alex.
Okay.
We have a whole series of short videos about when Alex has discovered something new about the world.
Yes, when he learned about something that he didn't know.
How
because
was I supposed to know
Greg
that telegrams were for normal people?
was normal people. All right, what has changed? What technology has changed the world for the worse?
Disconnect, as I said earlier. I think
Oh,
Oh,
people
the same
are
cell
too-
phone?
Yep.
The same device has helped
That-
us.
That a cell phone, if you use it for a phone for instant communication, it's a good thing. But if you use a phone just to stare at it, then that's a negative.
Right. Oh, definitely. You
But
know,
the same piece of technology.
well, it has its place in the world. If we
Mhm.
didn't have technology, we wouldn't be as advanced as we are as a nation. Do you think that?
I think that's why we're ahead.
Why we're ahead, he said.
Sarah, crank
Ahead
up
of
your
what?
speakers.
They're up. She's got hearing aids. I
How?
should have got her headphones.
This is why we're ahead as a country, right? Because of the technological advances that and the technological risks that we take as a country.
That like the US is better off and ahead of the game, whatever the game is. That's a whole other conversation, by the way. What's the game and how do we
Well, then I won't digress. But interesting thought. Never thought of it that way.
give her something to do tonight, Alex?
Uh-oh.
Ponder that question.
All right, and my last question: has Sarah showed you Atlassian Intelligence at all?
No, I haven't.
Have
Not
Have
yet.
you seen any of our generative AI that is currently taking society?
I went online today and I was looking for videos and I never found them, but I did find the offerings that you have, the little boxes that show the different jobs you can do, and it went on and on and on. I was sorely impressed.
By like all the Atlassian jobs you're saying, or I'm not sure what you were looking at.
There were little boxes and they told you what they would do regarding timesheets or your job function or
Oh,
something
so-
like that. It was like all
Oh.
the collection of data that would be input, and then it would be more user friendly.
Mhm.
That was what impressed me the most, because the quickest way to me for success is getting the common ordinary person to understand the data and utilize it.
Man, mark that in the video, right? She nailed it.
Yeah. All
Because-
right.
We're
So
good?
we are winding
Almost.
up.
No.
Oh,
You have a quiz, I think. Does she get a quiz?
She does
She
get a
gets
quiz.
Yes.
which era?
It's just they'll
It's
explain
just
what to
general
do.
questions.
Yeah, we ask easy questions.
Yes.
They're not hard.
Yeah.
She's
They
ready.
won't
She's
be
got her
up on
glasses
screen.
on.
I'll ask them to you. Sarah will make sure that you hear them. The idea is to, when we ask you the question, try and answer it as fast as possible, and then you can explain your answer. All right, and
You
there'll
got
be
it?
5 of these questions. All right, so question number 1. Is the glass, in fact, half full or half empty?
Apple. Because we have so much more we have to learn and get out to the public so that we can be connected more.
All right.
All right. Would you prefer to read an ebook or a physical book?
Oh, no brainer. Physical book.
I take it you would prefer the telegram over a text message too, then.
Yes. Well, you forgot to ask her if she has that handy dandy cell phone for instant communication.
I do not own a cell phone.
Oh, that should have been a good question to ask.
Uh,
How does the one get a hold of you then?
landline.
You know, they used to have these phones that like hooked up to the wall.
Yes. So one of the questions they could have asked you was, have you ever used your phone to call somebody to find out where your phone was? And I was laughing at that, thinking about my mom on her cordless phone going, where's my phone? Because it probably has happened. All right. Next question.
All right. What sci-fi movie antagonist would you want to fight? A zombie, a robot, or dinosaurs?
Oh, robot.
You'd fight a robot?
Oh,
I
fighting?
know, which one do you want to fight? Zombie, robot, or
Dinosaur.
dinosaur?
Well, the dinosaur is too big. The robot, I said, but I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to go with the first one. What was it again?
Zombie.
A
Zombie.
zombie, because hopefully zombies come and go. So maybe they'll go away.
That's a good
I would just
answer.
pick the one that I can give a telegram to and tell him to go away.
Distract him. You
Yeah,
got a
distract
telegram.
him. Here,
All right.
here's a phone.
So, question number 4. Why are there interstates, highways in Hawaii?
They're
So
in Hawaii. I didn't know that.
there you go. That's the answer I expected.
There is an interstate in Hawaii. It is, in fact, a thing.
Why would Hawaii, with a small
That is
dimension,
what we
have an
wonder as a
interstate?
society. That is the riddle.
Exactly. We don't know why. We want to know. Why is it?
I don't pass.
It's all right. We have a bonus one. We were prepared for a pass.
Yeah, I have an extra one too.
Nice.
All right. So the new number 4. Would you consider your thumb a kind of finger, or is it something different?
Boy, that's a good one, because I never really thought about my thumb, but it's a necessary evil. No, I consider it apart from the 4 fingers, but it's like I said, it's
So
necessary evil.
a thumb is not a finger.
It's
All
not
right.
classified as that.
They're
phalange.
asking you.
It's a phalange. We're asking you.
Yeah.
Well, it's a finger.
I mean,
because
there's
it's
no
attached to
wrong
the other
answer here.
4.
All right. So now we're saying it is a finger.
Well, I'm old and I can be
Yep.
You
corrected.
can change your mind every 2 seconds.
Yes. Exactly.
All
right.
right. Our
Wow.
last question.
Second to
The
last.
last book I read was. What was the last book you read?
Gee, I read the books, but I don't retain their title.
Is it
So
because they're
this
on your
is-
Kindle?
Oh no,
No, she's a physical book person. Remember?
No.
That's no
It
joke.
has to be tactile. Have to touch it. No.
You can touch your Kindle.
It's not the
that's-
same, Alex, and you know that.
Oh, come on.
Sarah, let's get your mom a Kindle for Christmas.
No. Don't bother.
Oh,
None of that stuff.
Oh my God. Isn't this sad?
Okay, what was the book about?
It took place in 1855 in London by this guy who
Rodney
wanted
Dickens?
who wanted to be a detective in Scotland Yard, but they never recognized him. And it told you about the crime he was investigating and all
Sherlock
the
Holmes?
different ins and outs.
no, it's not
No,
Sherlock
Alex.
Holmes.
She knows more than just pop culture references like you.
Are we having
I-
fun?
Yes.
I want to ask you, favorite restaurant on the hill?
Oh, Lordy Lord. Oh.
So you got Favazas, you've got Mamas, you've got Charlie Gito's.
Oh, what is that one on the hill? Oh, that my brother always takes me to.
I think you guys go to Favazas.
No.
No.
It's an individual one.
I'll
And
have to
I'm
look
not-
it up.
I'm not good on names,
Uh-oh.
but anyway.
Okay.
So you have been lucky enough to go to the hill?
I lived in St. Louis for 31 months. I used to work
Oh.
at the Boeing company for 31 months in St. Louis.
What company?
Boeing or McDonnell Douglas.
The former McDonald, right?
Yeah, that's who my brother worked for, a subdivision in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
He made was one of the chemists that was involved with the rocket fuel for the space program.
So I am related to a rocket scientist, just to be clear.
There we go. That's why Sarah's so smart.
I use that a lot. I'm like, he was a rocket scientist.
He was.
Is it Zia's? There's Zia's, G and Tony's.
G and
Lorenzo-
Tony. G
there
and
we go,
Tony.
G and Tony's.
For everybody
We got
else,
it.
if you're ever in St. Louis, make your way over to the hill. It's like a street
Yes.
in St. Louis with a bunch of Italian restaurants.
It's a
and
whole
you heard-
neighborhood.
Yeah. And
And
you
it's
heard
still
Sarah's
viable.
recommendation here
Yes,
Yeah.
for the next 8th event that we have in St. Louis.
exactly. We'll go
We gotta
find
go
out.
down to the hill.
Look at that. You did an hour, Mom. She was so worried. She's like, an hour? An hour?
I mean, I can talk. I have no issue with that, as you've ascertained.
I might not have gotten that from her though, guys. You know me. I sit over here quiet while you guys do everything.
Says the woman is going to take over next week.
Thank you so much for having this
Thank you for
opportunity.
coming.
It
Thank
was
you.
cool.
Yeah, all right. Absolutely, Miss Cecilia. It's been a pleasure having you. Sarah, thank you for pitching. This was an awesome hour.
Yay!
Sarah, if you haven't gotten enough of her last week and this week,
I know.
you're in luck. Sarah and our friend Dr. Valerie will be hosting next week.
Love
Well,
her.
meanwhile, our producer Bob and our co-host Alex here will be in Austin, attending the
signing.
ACE event there. Huh?
Bring your book.
Yeah, bring your book, get it signed.
And then you
It's
just
going
need
to
to
be
go
an
find Rodney.
amazing week all around next week.
And then all you need to do is find Rodney, and it's going to be a very easy signature. Who will be the first
Rodney's
person
going to
have
be
all-
a little challenging to get for the next few months.
I'm half tempted to just drive over to your house and get the book from Austin. 'Cause I kind of feel like one of the four of us needs to be the one that has all 4 signatures.
I mean,
That should
Alex,
be a
you're
thing.
always welcome
Well,
here.
We'll send it in a telegram. We'll send a page by telegram to for everybody to sign. It'll be amazing.
Oh man, that is too much. Miss Cecilia, thank you so much. Whenever you want to come
great.
back, let us know. Thank you for letting us borrow your daughter indefinitely. We love her a lot.
Yeah, it's been
Aw.
great having her on. But as
Thank
we
you.
always say here, we didn't get to choose the Jira Life. Jira Life we got to do. Jira Life
Oh,
chose
wow.
us.
Are you
I
messing up?
absolutely flubbed that.
Wow. What
This
an
is why I don't
outtake.
say it because I mess it up every
Wait,
time. But we should have a
Wait,
Cecilia. that-
okay, here you go, Mom. So say, we didn't choose the Jira Life. The Jira Life chose
Life
us.
chose
Go,
us.
right there, at that camera.
We didn't choose the Jira Life. The Jira Life chose us.
Everyone, thanks for watching.
Thank you for listening to the Jira Life. Our hosts are Alex, Dr. Jira Ortiz, and Rodney, the Jira Guy, Nissen. You can find Alex on YouTube at 8Tech Tutorials, and Rodney's blog is found over at thejiraguy.com. Our producers are Robert King Bob Wen and Lina Ortiz. You can catch us live as we record this podcast every Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on YouTube at The Jira Life. Be sure to join us and our other Jira Amigos of the Peanut Gallery every week to ask your questions, let us know your comments, and just tell us what you're up to. But if you can't join us live, you can still catch the replay over on YouTube. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell while you're watching. We're also available as a podcast over on Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you listen to it and think it deserves a rating, we would very much appreciate it, as it will help others discover the Jira Life. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life. The Jira Life chose us.